What's up, guys? So a lot of you guys reminded me that I did not do the LG V60 versus the 15 Pro comparison, so we're gonna do it today. I don't know how I forgot this when it slipped my mind, but yeah, the V60, one of my favorite phones, probably all time, definitely top 5, and we're gonna put it against the 15 Pro Max so you guys can see why it's still such a great phone. So let's go ahead and just get started here, and I want to kick it off with the hardware. One of the things that is really underestimated or just not, I don't think, appreciated about this phone is this thing is extremely well built. It's like a very solid phone, much more durable than the 15 Pro Max, which we're seeing is not probably Apple's worst phone when it comes to durability. It really it looks like this back glass breaks really easy. The V60 has a really kind of like a tank design. It feels extremely solid as well too. They're both glass and metal phones. They're both IP68 dust and water resistant. And one cool thing about the V60 is that you have a headphone jack with a quad DAC, so you get really high quality audio. Both have stereo speakers, and actually both have USB Type-C. So that's really cool. And what's pretty cool about the V60 is you also have a button that you could call it like, you know, an action button like the iPhone. Basically you can turn into that, and it has a little bit more functionality since it is Android. You can sort of do more with it, but they both have that. And yeah, the V60 I think still looks really good. It's a very classy phone, even though I do like the matte finish on the 15 Pro Max, or I just like matte finish in general. This glossy design, you can see, just picks up a lot of fingerprints. You find yourself wiping it down quite a bit. But when it comes to hardware, both very beautiful looking devices for sure. About the displays on both of these phones, the V60 actually has dual screen case capability, which I am going to get. I've been having some issues with the mail, but I'm going to get that for you guys so you guys can see it. But it has dual screen case, so basically you can turn it into two phones. So it's like an ultimate multitasking type of phone. You can think of it as a folding phone. And just to talk about the displays here, the V60 has a 6.8-inch OLED display. It's HDR10+, 1080p, and then it's $395 for the PPI. And you can see it has the water drop notch. It's a little bit outdated. And the iPhone, it has a 6.7-inch display. It's 2000 nits peak brightness, XDR OLED, 120 Hz, HDR10, and it is a 1290 by 2796, 460 for the PPI. It has the dynamic island, which some people love it, some people hate it. It's still a little bit more intrusive than the water drop notch, kinda, in my opinion. But yeah, so both very nice displays. And yeah, I have no issues with the display. Like I said, the iPhone, it is brighter in direct sunlight, and it does have 120 Hz. But you do have the advantage of the V60 being able to have the dual screen case capability, which is something that the iPhone cannot do, which is really cool. Now let's talk about specs a little bit more here. So the V60, it does have Android 13 on here. That's the last major OS update for this phone. It is still getting security patches, at least for right now. This phone has the Snapdragon 865 chip on it. It has micro SD card support, 128 gigs of internal storage and 12 gigs of RAM. The iPhone has the Apple A17 chip, 256 gigs of internal storage and 8 gigs of RAM. There's a massive price difference between these two phones. You'll find the V60 for like, you know, $200+. The iPhone is gonna, you know, run you $1,200 without a trade-in. And as you can see, this is one thing that I always tell people to pay attention to, is you see these big, massive score differences. Now the iPhone's chip is very impressive. You can port, from what Apple says, console games onto this chip now. It's a very impressive chip, as you guys can see. You know, with the single core and the multi-core score, just really impressive. They have some of the fastest chips when it comes to these Geekbench scores and all that stuff. So basically, you won't really notice a difference. That's why I said the average person really won't notice too much of a difference. Now, if we got into like a little speed test here, like I said, the iPhone, it would be faster, but it's not like dramatically different. So those scores can really be like, for the average person, you would think like, oh, I'm getting a much faster phone. But it's not really the case, and you can see, even when scrolling on the V60, it's still very smooth for a 60 Hz phone. And let's try Subway Surf. So again, not that big of a difference like you would think. Very impressive when it comes to speed on the V60 here. Let's try TikTok. got a live, but that's still pretty impressive. And let's go ahead and get into PUBG here. Alright guys, when it comes to gaming performance, you still get really good performance on this older flagship here. You can see we're at still HDR extreme on here, so we can do 60 frames and it's still very smooth on this 865 chip. And like I said, if you get the dual screen case, you can see like the map on PUBG as well too, which is pretty nice. The cool thing about these newer phones is that, and it's not just the newer phones, but this phone has 120 hertz, so it can do PUBG at 90 frames, which is really nice. So it's really smooth. And LG opted out of, they could have put the 90 frames or 120 hertz on it, but they opted out. I think it's, you know, because of the dual screen case, they wanted to do that. Maybe battery life, not sure. But yeah, gaming performance is pretty similar on both of these two phones. Now, the iPhone has been doing better with heat since it got the update, iOS update, so it's not really heating up like it was when I first got it. But gaming performance, as you can see, is pretty similar. Yeah, the iPhone does do a better job, but I think this is still pretty good. Now, let me know how you guys feel about the photo difference. So, one of the things about the newer phones is that they really put a lot of emphasis on upgrading these cameras. Every time a new phone comes out, it's almost always about the cameras, right? Alright, so the iPhone has a 48 megapixel standard. It has a 12 megapixel periscope telephoto. It does 5 times optical zoom. A 12 megapixel ultra wide. It shoots in 4K 60, and then you have a 12 megapixel selfie cam that shoots in 4K 60 as well. The V60, it has a 64 megapixel standard, 13 megapixel ultra wide, and a 0.3 depth sensor. It shoots in 8K 30, and then you have a 10 megapixel selfie that shoots in 4K 30. So take a look at these side-by-side stills and video. Do you guys see a massive upgrade with these pictures? Let's check out these speakers side by side, max volume. My V60 kind of, they're both pretty loud and have really good bass. The V60 kind of has this really, oh, that's why. It kind of has like a 3D sound to it, like a surround sound to it. Okay, that's better. Honestly, really good sound out of both of these speakers. Almost sound alike. I think the iPhone is a little bit fuller with the sound, with the overall bass. Yeah, it's kind of difficult to tell though. So I would almost say it's a tie, but really good speakers out of both of these phones. About battery performance here. So the 15 Pro Max has a 4,441 milliamp hour battery, 25 watt charging, has the wireless and the MagSafe charging with the reverse wired charging on here. No reverse charging though. And then the V60 has a 5,000 milliamp hour battery, and it has wireless charging on here as well. Basically, you get good battery life out of both of these phones. But yeah, the cool thing about the newer phones is that battery life is pretty impressive, but the V60's battery life is actually really good. I've never had an issue with this phone. I think it had above average battery life when it first came out, surprisingly. So I would say battery life is good. The V60 never really dies in a day for me. It's kind of like the iPhone here. It's like a day and a half kind of phone when you fully charge it. And again, it's gonna vary from different, from person to person. If you're a lighter user like me, then it's easy to get like a day and a half out of these phones. But yeah, what do you guys think? Be sure to let me know, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.